Welcome to a life of possibilities and inspiring conversations. My name is Nkandu Belts and our guest today is Kathy Mazela. Kathy is a consultant and a motivational speaker. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So Kathy, can you tell us about yourself and why you started your organisation?
Well, 20 years ago I had a radical gynecological cancer and I had no understanding about anything gynecology. And I then discovered my daughter had polycystic ovaries and endometriosis at age 16. But I used to just sort of think, well, it's just a woman's thing and you just need to persevere with it. But it was from that impact I thought there must be others out there. And so I discovered in Australia 1 million women with polycystic ovaries, 1 million with endometriosis and fibroids and prolapse, and the list goes on. And yet this, the stigma and the taboos are still there, and so I made it my quest to see what I can do to make a difference.
So you started your organisation then?
Yes.
What are you doing in your organisation?
I'm just setting up a charitable trust. I did have a not-for-profit, but I've moved on from there, and now I'm having a charitable trust so that I can find ways to be able to be funded to spread my message a lot stronger than what it already is from downtown Perth, because I want to make this global.
And you mentioned that there's a lot of stigma attached to these women's issues.
Yes.
I think maybe we're not talking about it enough. Why do you think that's the case?
Well, it wasn't until I discovered I was questioning why this is so. I would go to the women's organisations and there still wasn't anything on the agenda, and I thought, why is it like this? And then I discovered the word pudendum in the dictionary, and the Latin version of that word says female genitalia, one who should and ought to be ashamed, the shameful part of a woman. And so that gave me some understanding as to why thousands of years ago we were socially programmed that we don't talk about these things. But I don't think there would be a word in the dictionary for men to be ashamed of their genitalia. And so I then noticed that women call their vulva a vagina. By the way, the vulva is the external genitalia and the vagina is the internal genitalia. And then I discovered that women are confused, even in this day and age, which bit is which, and they're still talking behind their hands. And I'm saying, well, let's open the door and let's start talking about these things, because a lot of issues are connected with pornography in this day and age, and I'm coming from the direct reverse of that. It's like, hey, women, be proud of who and what you are.
Exactly, because this is a health issue, and like you're saying, it's affecting a lot of women out there, and not much education about it. So what's missing in our education system?
Well, I think it's the women themselves. I think we need to have a good hard look at why this is not being addressed and put it on the agenda of the United Nations Women's Organisations. Let's start talking about these things. And I know a lot of this work is under the umbrella of reproductive health. But to me, gynecological health is just as different as a vulva is to a vagina. And reproductive health is about having babies, and gynecology is about the millions of women with gynecological health issues. And how this also affects the men and the fathers and the husbands in these women's lives. It has a huge effect on relationships and mental health. And yet, quite often, even the mental health issue, people do not see the connection between here and here for women and depression, which I sort of think, but why?
If somebody's going through something that is, as sensitive, and then there's the stigma attached to it, and then the society is not allowing you to talk about it, of course somebody's going to be depressed in going through such challenging and difficult times. But what are some of the key steps that women can take to look after themselves? Because like you're saying, there's not enough information out there, there's not enough education, and often women, they leave it until they go and see their GP and then find out, oh, it's too late.
Yes, that's right. That's right. But quite often, I don't think because we as women don't create a lot of attention around this area, a lot of the GPs are not given enough time to have an understanding themselves. So this is not just about the women and the men learning, but it's also being able to find the funding to support these doctors and gynecologists.
So what sort of impact have you made over the last few years, doing what you do? Because you've also been doing some, you've been speaking around the country, you've been running workshops. So what impact are you seeing so far?
Well, I've won 10 awards so far, which is
congratulations.
Thank you. But I was hoping that the awards would give me another platform to share the message. But again, the stigma is still there. So I've had to try and find a way to change the stigma and the way we think about it. I've spoken at a private girls' school in London last year. I spoke at the Albert Schweitzer Centre in Houston and Zonta in Dallas as well. So, and I've done quite a few talks in Australia. And I've had to find a way to sort of put a bit of fun into a very serious topic.
It's a very serious topic.
It is absolutely serious, but the more serious we make it, the more serious the conditions become. And so therefore, so I've devised this an undies campaign. It's called Undies for Better Understanding. Yeah. And this year the theme is called Moulin Rouge. So I thought, well, we could just spice it up a little bit more and just sort of have a bit of fun with it. But just, and even for the men to dress up, I know there's an organisation having the Gynae Awareness Day, and they're all dressing up like this, and the men are going to be dressed up, and I just sort of think, well, this is how it should be, you know, sharing the knowledge. And what else I've been doing is I've devised, because gynecology is very complex and the understanding and the long words, I've devised this paper talk that we used to have at school. Did you ever have them at school?
No, unfortunately no.
Anyhow, this is just a simple thing, and it just got one word and one sentence. And for us to understand, yes, my mother's got that or my sister's got that, and then it just allows us to be able to talk to our friends and things, and then eventually opens up to the ovary, cervix, uterus, vulva and vagina. And so there it is for all the world to see. I mean, there's nothing scary about it whatsoever. No. But I'll just show a few of the other undies, and you know, that you can ask your community to get involved and have a bit of fun with it.
Yeah. So by creating these undies, it's trying to break the stigma or the shame factor attached to the issue itself.
Yes, but this is my first book ever. It's called The Not So Secret Women's Business, and after we've made up the undies, we've got a song in the back of the book, and it's called the Dynamite Song.
Left, ladies to the right. Hands together, we are guiding us. We cannot spread this cheer to look after what's down here.
And we have a bit of fun with it. It's ladies to the left, ladies to the right, and it makes the women laugh. And so it's just a simplistic way, and it's not an expensive way, that you can get out there and create your own awareness and have a bit of fun.
Exactly. So teaching them. So why not so secret?
Well, I just found everybody was saying what's secret women's business, and I thought, well, I want to open the door and hear what these secrets are, because the suffering by a lot of these women, it's just not acceptable that we live in the world as it is today. And I mean, of course, everybody says I can go to the internet and we can look it up on the internet, but that leaves you isolated if you're out there with one of these conditions and you've got nobody else to talk to about it. So we're all got to be in it together.
So what is the book about in a nutshell?
In a nutshell, it's just simple stories. It just has one story about endometriosis, probably about 4 sentences. And then it's what I have experienced myself, my own personal stories about what wisdom I have learned from understanding these women's stories. So there's just all different endometriosis, polycystic ovary.
Yes. So your book is being used at the moment as an educational tool, just to teach and inform and encourage women to take action.
Yes, and it's okay now to talk about these things. And so I'll be able to take it to women's organisations and say, you know, let's start doing this from a different perspective than we have done in the past.
Yes, yeah. So this is quite interesting. On page 31, you know, you talk about a prolapsed uterus, for example, and a lot of women that, you know, they go through that, and it's something that is not, commonly discussed. It's sort of like behind closed doors with the GPs and...
Yes, well, a lot of women think it's just a thing that they have to put up with. And I know there's probably other alternatives that you could try and work on. But the thing is, the more we share with one another, the more we can understand, well, I've tried this and I've tried that. And I know we still need the medical model, but we can learn from one another so much.
So do you think there's a need to start, you know, teaching some of these things to young people, let's say, for example, in secondary school, because they do physical ed and there's a bit of sexual health and respect for relationships that, you know, are part of the curriculum, but not to this level.
No, it hasn't, and I just can't understand when a 14-year-old girl is going through endometriosis or polycystic ovaries and it's not being addressed by the school, and the school doesn't understand it and the parents don't understand it. Where does that leave the young women? It leaves them floundering and lack of confidence, and they don't know what's going on. It's very, very hard for young women, young men as well, but for women to be going through this process, it's just unbelievably hard for these women.
You've got some of the topics here. It's quite it's quite broad, you know, from sharing and healing to hysterectomy to cervical cancer, and then there is also the no shame, no blame. How did you come up with some of these topics?
Well, because my daughter, and I understood what she was going through, I thought I would put polycystic ovaries and endometriosis in there. And the cervical cancer, I noticed that, you know, many women are in the dark. And I know when I first went through this 20 years ago, I got my education from the back of the door, of the toilet door. And so that's why I thought, well, we'll just put this basic book together. But I know somebody said to me once, it's too basic. But I thought, but to get into the minds of women, we have to be basic. And so that's why I put, you know, like polycystic ovaries and just a basic explanation so that when they go to the doctor, they can ask more questions and just be more confident in their language.
Yes, yeah. And you've also talked about, you know, encouraging women to share their stories.
Yes, yeah. That's vital, because when this first happened to me and I was pretty much sort of ostracised by society, I placed an advertisement in the Woman's Day and all these ladies wrote me these horrific stories, but they wanted their story to be told, they wanted to be heard and acknowledged, because some of the men behind these women, they didn't know how to cope with these women and what had happened to them. And then you understand about the sexually transmitted infections and it's like, it just hits you in the face there and then. But if we had a greater understanding before all of this, well, then it wouldn't be such an impact on relationships.
It's very true, because, you know, when a woman is going through these challenging situations, you know, and there's the husband or the boyfriend and the family as well, it's very true. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back.
You know, we're like good girls that we just do as we're told. Well, I'm not one of those girls, I'm afraid.